Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where the topic is Automating Status Reporting in a Hybrid PPM Environment. My name is Doug Welsby, and I'm the Partner Channel Manager here at WICRESOFT. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson, our Director of Sales, and Paul Esbrooks, our Vice President of WICRESOFT Canada. During today's webinar, attendees will be on mute and the line will not be open for questions. However, feel free to use the GoToWebinar question feature to submit questions. I'll address these questions during the webinar and will respond via email if we do not get to your specific question. If for some reason you get distracted or pulled away from the webinar, no need to worry, as I'll be emailing a link to the presentation once it has been posted to our YouTube channel. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Doug. Appreciate the introduction, and thank you everybody for spending some time with us today. In this topic, I believe most people are familiar with the concept of status reporting and maybe even the concept of automating them. But the whole idea of putting it into the context of a hybrid PPM environment is really about dealing with the modern day challenges we have in our project and work management environments today. And we're going to talk about some of those things and how we can address them. So first and foremost, if we look at one of the rationales for why we have a hybrid PPM set of requirements and needs in organizations today is that there's a proliferation of tools. The advent of the cloud makes easy accessibility for individuals and teams to really select and start dabbling in the tools and using the tools that they want to use that they feel are more conducive to the types of work and methods that they're using. In this graphic that you see here, if you look at the different disciplines down the left-hand column and the different organizations, when you look at the variations of things like Excel and Outlook and Jira and Project and PowerPoint and Azure DevOps, it quickly becomes a matrix where there's a proliferation of tools where there's a lot of pockets of data for work and resources and other types of things that then have to be aggregated in some shape or fashion to provide status and some level of metrics that leadership would like to see as well as stakeholders. On top of that, we layer on the advent of different methodologies and frameworks that are being used in organizations today. Agile continues to grow, but waterfall is still widely used in a lot of organizations. There's a lot of variations of Agile, whether it be Scrum or Kanban or some lean types of approaches, as well as more hybrid methodologies that maybe use a combination of waterfall and Agile, things like Scrum Fall, as people sometimes call it, and other versions of that. And in reality, a lot of organizations look at some standards in some of these methodologies and then they personalize or cherry pick those to fit the things that they'd like to leverage if they maybe don't use all of the concepts or all of the standards and best practices within them. However, what people do is not so much important as doing it well. Gartner, in a study, said that smart organizations realize that using agile techniques such as Scrum or DevOps is not the only or even the best indicator of an organization's speed or flexibility. And most organizations are more likely to use several different approaches. And the graph here, it puts things like agile and iterative, lean, waterfall, even extreme programming is something that's used in some organizations still today. So the key is, it's okay to use these, and many organizations are, and we find in our practice that most organizations are using a combination of them and not just one singular methodology or framework. So part of the challenge of all that is consolidating it all and then translating it into a common language and a common set and picture that different levels of the organization are interested in to see how their initiatives and their investments are tracking. Being able to associate different projects and initiatives and align them with things like corporate goals and portfolios and strategic themes, to be able to aggregate and roll up data relevantly through these different hierarchical structures potentially that we have, and then accommodate the different methodologies that we may put in place around them, and the variety of tools that we may be using to execute on those methodologies or frameworks, further layers complexity on that. At the end of the day, leadership and our customers often want to see a common set of metrics. So even though we're using different methods, and even different data sets, we got to translate that into a common picture that people can digest and interpret. So what is happening today is often costly and inefficient uses of time. There's a lot of manual data crunching from all these multiple tools and data sources that somebody has to crunch this all together to get a data set that they can even start to work with and then massage that data set. Then on top of that, once you have that, there's often manual or at least semi-manual report creation, and then formatting of those reports, and then ongoingly updating them every reporting cycle. Data reentry, as we transcribe data from one data source to another, often happens. And not only is this time consuming, but it's also prone to errors as people maybe make mistakes as they transport that data from one source to another. Also, we do things like chase team members around for status updates. And then we go package and distribute reports to different stakeholders and organizational levels, meaning just the distribution of the reports can be a very manual and time-consuming and inefficient way to do those types of communication. And then trying to track the completeness and timeliness of submissions. Are we even looking at a current set of data? Are people actually updating the projects and the data in a way that makes sure that it's current so we can rely on it for decision making? So these are some of the things that commonly happen today. Now, if we automate this, like we're going to talk about today, what are some of the benefits of doing that? Well, in putting a PPM solution or related solution in place, labor savings over manual efforts on reporting is one of the biggest hard dollar paybacks that you can get in putting one of these solutions in place. It also allows us to take that freed up time and possibly redirect those for our project managers and others to more high value activities rather than just crunching data. And then we also end up with better turnaround time. So we have more timely information for decision support, and turning this voluminous sets of data, which project and portfolio management systems create, but turning it into useful, analyzed information that is meaningful so that we can actually use it for decision support. And that also helps us put information of varieties of different forms into relevant context, so it tells a story and paints the right picture for us. And then we also end up with consistency of format in our reporting for easier interpretation so that the audience for that report doesn't have to kind of assess what they're looking at and then interpret it as they look at a variety of forms and formats from different submitters. And then also comprehensive status on a variety of dimensions of project and portfolio management information, whether it be schedule, resources, financial, and overall health. And then the ability to take snapshots and maintain history and even potentially do trending on that type of information is something that comes out of the automation of these types of things. And then instead of distributing these types of things, we can consume them online or output them to common formats that can be done electronically so that we're not manually hitting up a distribution list with their each own wish list or package of reports as we look through. And hopefully this makes for a more efficient process and gets people the right information at the right time. So today we're going to talk about Oneplan. And Oneplan, how it connects the strategy to execution, like we talked about those different levels that the information needs to flow up through, and how we can actually enable that with this technology. I'll let Paul talk a little bit more during the demonstration about how that happens, but this is the fundamental piece that allows this or enables this in the solution we're going to talk about today. And not only that, Oneplan is built on Microsoft Office 365 and the Microsoft Power Platform, so it can be surfaced in a variety of Microsoft technologies. It could be brought together in Teams, which we're going to be focusing on today, is showing you how it can be accessed and enabled and utilized from within Teams. But it can also be used within things like Azure DevOps and SharePoint and Dynamics and Project Online. And we'll talk a little bit more about that through the demonstration. Now, the Power Apps piece, which is an emerging offering from Microsoft, allows us with low-code, no-code apps to extend what we're going to talk about today into the kind of run scenario or the more highly advanced scenarios where we can add whatever capabilities we want using Power Apps. And so if we think about things like upfront project requests and ideation, all the way through to things like governance and issues and changes and things, status reports are all part of that. We can actually have pre-configured solutions that really make it a full-blown Cadillac of a solution in the PPM genre. And by using that and having a common data source or a common data service, as Microsoft calls it, it makes the possibilities of tying all these things together and getting the right role-based access to this data easier than it ever has been before. So with those concepts, I'd like to turn it over to Paul and let him demonstrate these things in action for you.
Thank you, Jim. I'm just going to change presenter. Bear with me. Show my screen, yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So I've logged into Teams. So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming today. So I've logged into Teams. I'm in an EPMO Teams that we have created, and I've got my portfolio up. So this is our Oneplan solution surfaced in Teams. So a few things I want to show you sort of to build up to how we use all this status information. So in here I have my list of all of my projects. You'll see down the left here that I have the different types of products or different types of solutions that we are connecting to. So each of these projects can be managed in a different environment. So the first one there is connected to Teams. The next one's connected to a multitude of systems, including Project Professional and DevOps. Further down, you'll see one that's connected to Jira and others that are connected to different things. And if we scroll down, you'll see a few here that are actually connected to Project for the Web, Microsoft's new project solution. I actually have this product launch one open, and I'm going to quickly show you that capability. So this is me opening up that project. I could have clicked on it. I just had already done it. And so now I can go in here and look at all of this. Let me just refresh that, sorry. And I can work with my project here. So this is how I could do my scheduling and my planning in Project for the Web. For those of you who maybe haven't seen this new tool. So I have my ability to fill in a grid, create tasks. I can add a new task down here, change its dates, change its duration, edit everything I need to here in the grid. Maybe I don't want to look at it as a grid. I have the option to look at it in a board view. I prefer this kind of progress view where I can move stuff between and say now that task is in progress or move a task to completed. And I can manage this using this format. And you can see here sort of part of that status information, all those dates in red were behind the original plan. So this is where some of that data can first start to appear, and we will use that as we bubble up and work on our status reports a little bit later. Lastly, in the new project for the web is the ability to see things in a timeline view. So if I just scroll to tasks just so we can see this, there's my information now in the conventional Gantt chart type view. They've decided to call it a timeline this time. If I open up the details, you'll see if I change that task to 85%, you'll see that the blue continues to advance. Highly interactive, all based on the web, very modern UI, ability to add resources. You can see the indicators and the icons there beside each task, status the information on that project and that task, give that over to the resources to provide that information. Going back to Jim's slides about chasing team members. They can provide that information right here as part of this solution. So that's Project for the Web. If I jump back to my story here, and I've got other projects in here, this one here, support customers using mobile, which we're going to spend a bunch of time on, it's connected to Project Professional. And I actually have that open too, just so I can show it quickly. So here's a full-blown project schedule. And we've added in a module called Oneplan. It gives us the ability to publish and update these tasks back to Oneplan and ultimately where we're going to view it in Teams. So again, the ability to manage the schedule here, if this is the tool you need to use, and surface this information back where we can then generate our status report, make our portfolio decisions, and run all of our aggregated portfolio level reporting. Okay, so just quickly showing you both of those. I'm going to show DevOps in a minute, but the idea that I can look at a project schedule in Project Professional or Project for the Web, depending on my needs and the type of project that I'm doing. Now we'll dive into supporting customers using mobile and see some of the rich information that we're tracking in here as we build towards that status report on the top bar here that we're going to get to here in just a minute. First off is all of the details and information that would have come along with schedule from when we started it. Where are we in our governance model? Who owns this? What objectives are we trying to reach? What parts of the business is this in? And other information related to the business case, all configurable for what you want to track. Next, I might want to look at this from a budget or a financials perspective. So here you're seeing I'm comparing to forecast, but let me just compare to none for a second. My ability to come in here and define what my budget will be for this project. I would have done that as a PM perhaps in an early stage and maybe potentially refined it as we got closer to execution. And now I'm going to use the forecast, which was on the screen just a second ago, just to show that what I originally budgeted and now what I'm forecasting as the project begins to proceed, how are they varying from one another? Again, this is part of that natural sort of evolving status that we're trying to track. So I have my budget, and now I have my forecast, and as a PM, I can quickly see where I am over my budget, over my targets, and trending in a bad direction. So that's my financial picture. Next would be the resource picture. So if I start here, I can look at my resources and see on my resource team, my project team here, and the hours that I'm entering in hours, the hours that I am committed to working on in this project. Let me just go take this off for a second so I can see this a little bit better. And now I can look at, well, I've got a lot of red there. I've got resources that are over allocated. If you hover over like Kono, for example, you can see there's an overage of 350 hours, meaning they're double and triple booked on projects. And that's giving me a status indicator, okay? I could compare that to potentially to my scheduled resources. So what did I commit? Now what am I scheduling? And again, where am I seeing indicators of status related to red, yellow, green in this case, showing that my schedule isn't matching my commitments. And that leads to a whole host of things that we might want to analyze. So next up, I want to look at that work plan. You saw this schedule in Project Professional. Here we've surfaced it in Oneplan, where we can now look at it. And again, we have elements of status, which projects, which tasks are in progress, which are completed, where do we have red indicators on dates. So we're seeing the data come from the tool of choice, in this case, Project Professional, where we're now pulling that here. So as a project manager, I can manage this, see this, and incorporate this into my status. What we also have for this project is a backlog. This backlog, these items, are coming from Azure DevOps. So this project's a hybrid project. It has elements that are in the DevOps world and are being treated in an agile fashion, and obviously the project schedule that we were just looking at. So there's DevOps right here, that same project. There are those related work items that we're working on, and we've surfaced that information back to back to Oneplan so that we can see it here and incorporate it in that overall view that we're trying to manage as a PM and as a PMO. Okay, so there's my backlog. Now we'll jump to the status report. So at this point, we've got a bunch of data about this project and we've centralized it. We've drawn it in from various places as we need to. Potentially the financial data could be, incorporated through integration from a financial system. The resource data is here. We've tied that to the schedule. We see where we're at, and now we can generate our status report. So the current status report is on the screen, and I have information here. I have my health indicators. I have my ability to come in and do my accomplishments, other things, provide other context, provide context to this status report, and fill that in. And when I'm all done, I can submit it. And that triggers a process for how that gets reviewed and how that data is going to be consumed. A few other things we've done here that sort of align to what people want in status reporting. One thing is they want to be able to see what we've done in the past. So if I want to go back and look at a past status report, I can pull up the one from back in March and see where we were. What did we know about this? Executives want to be able to answer the question, did I know that these indicators were trending in a bad direction? Well, go look. You can go and look at any one of them. This is this week's. Issues health is off track. But that wasn't the case 2 or 3 weeks ago or a month ago. But we have the data here for anyone to consume and see how this has evolved over time. What were we talking about back then? Where were we situated? What did we know about it? And what decisions did we make based on that information? The other thing we get asked for a lot when we do status reporting is, well, this is great, but I need to be able to circulate it in a variety of formats or potentially add other data or information. We provide you with a couple of capabilities here. We can pump it out into a PDF where you can email it around, or we can put it out into Word. Now I've done both of those just so we can show them quickly. Here is the PDF version. So very popular requirement to be able to take this and then put it out to a distribution list of executives and whatnot and sponsors of the project so that they have it, they can print it, they can take it to a meeting. The very conventional way of using and consuming this data. And so we provide that capability. Likewise, jump over here. Likewise, we can provide it to you in Word format. And there's the Word output, the default format. Here, you could take this, use parts of it in PowerPoint if you wanted to, add other annotations to it, make other edits to it that you want to, add color or other information for a specific audience. But you have the core data that's been collected in our system for people to use. Okay, so there's our different reporting outputs, or we have it here on the screen with the ability to go bounce to older ones and back to new ones. I'm going to jump back to the portfolio. So where we are is we've looked at the different ways we can manage the projects, and we've looked at the information that we can track about those projects at the project level, and culminating in the creation of a status report. Now it's how can we use that status report at the portfolio level? And you can see the first and most obvious example of that on the screen. So I'm just gonna, we don't need to see the teams right now. This will give us a little more real estate. So here I have our core sort of dashboard. You can configure this however you'd like. This one's the summary dashboard. It has those core indicators, and we can quickly see and potentially dive into, as I have been doing, any one of these projects where you see red showing up to understand better what is transpiring. Perhaps your lens is more of a financial lens. So we've got other views created, and you can create others for your organization as you see fit. But this one here looks at it from a financial perspective. Still have the indicator, still have the state of the project, but I also have a whole host of financial data, variance calculations, and so forth that I can dive deeper into that financial data that was coming from that financial module inside each of the projects. There's that same 608,000 that's sort of been traveling along with us. Maybe I want to look at it in a schedule view, a conventional schedule view. Oops, sorry, I clicked on that one too many times. Now I can see my projects. They're color coded in the Gantt chart. I've got other information here that I can show if I just slide that across. So now I have a schedule scenario, if that's what sort of how my thinking is oriented and how I want to look at things. But we're not limited to lists. We have the option to look at it in board formats. So I'm going to show a couple of those. One is if I look at it in those same portfolios that were on the previous screen, there they are. Now I'm looking at them as cards. My color coding is based on the overall health indicator. So we are surfacing the status reporting coming from each project up to give us this board view. And we have lots of projects in here. We can add other data across the top. We can do different things. If I come down here and I look at this program planning view, program increments, I can see here, excuse me, that I have it in these different streams. I can collapse them so you can see there's other streams down here of other data. I have projects in my backlog that I can move into where they belong. But what I also wanted to highlight from a status perspective, if I look across here, capital-wise, each and every quarter, my capital spend is close to budget in some cases, but it's never over. If I come up here and say, well, what if I look at that from a budget lens? Now I see something different. So again, now we're leveraging status at the portfolio level based on the data being captured at the project level and giving us different views of that data to help us better understand where we are as an organization. Boards are popular, but some people want to look at this more in a roadmap type view. So if I go back here to my roadmap, I'm going to put it into, kind of stick to the same portfolio theme for a minute. Now I have those same portfolios now as swim lanes with each of the projects in them color coded once again by overall health based on the most recent status report. You're also seeing on here interrelationship between projects, key milestones in projects. It's surfacing all that data here for those who want to use this as a roadmap type view to be able to show the overlay and the interplay between the projects. So we give you with this status data the conventional list dashboard type interaction experience, boards with interreaction between them and different ways of laying them out, different columns and different rows, a color coding of those cards, as well as the roadmap views to show how my portfolio aligns and how the projects interrelate and how each is with the status of each of those and how they fit together. And I'll culminate on my dashboard views. Oh, wait, sorry. I had that signed in. I've got this dashboard, but I want to kind of go to this one. I think it's a little more colorful. Now we're surfacing all of that data using Power BI. We've exposed this information so that through Power BI, we can communicate that status information and have this particular view here that shows all my projects with some overall health indicators and some budget data, and I can zoom in, zoom out on my information. So I have a host of status reports here that I can work with, project's financial health, okay? So now I'm leveraging Power BI. And I'll close on, Jim mentioned this in his slides, I've been demoing this inside a Teams interface. We actually have it, it can be inside of the interface here within DevOps if you want to go there, okay? It's loading up the same information. And I also have it, wait, I'm not gonna wait for that to load, whoops, sorry, wrong one. I have all of this same information in Power Apps. This similar user experience with the ability, as Jim stated, to go and extend this using Power Apps to add additional functionality and user experience on top of what we've demoed for you. So Teams, inside Power Apps, inside DevOps, and inside Project Online for that matter, to give you this kind of rich experience to gather the status information and then leverage that data as we go. Jim, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Let me take back the screen and let me know when you can see my slide.
Yes, Ken.
Terrific. Well, to summarize what we've talked about and what Paul has shown today is that tool proliferation is a challenge in many organizations today, and it is a reality. There's also a variety of methodologies and frameworks that are in use to execute on projects, as the graphic in the upper right indicates. Also, consolidating and translating data can be a highly manual and very labor-intensive effort. And manual report creation and formatting for different levels of audience for every reporting cycle is something that's a reality for many of us. Automation delivers significant labor savings by making these reports a natural output of your process rather than projects in and of themselves to produce them each and every reporting cycle. And we have the opportunity then where those efforts can be redirected to more high-value activities that we want our project managers and our PMOs to be doing. Also, it gives us the ability for quicker turnaround times and a more streamlined process so that we have more timely information for decision support so that we can actually take action where we can still have an effect on something if the information is new and fresh. And also comprehensive reports that include all dimensions of PPM information, whether it be schedules, resources, finances, issues, overall health, etc. And by having consistent report formats, it's easy to interpret and provide comparisons of how we're doing time over time. And as Paul showed, the snapshotting and the iterations of those reports allow us to show some trending and history on those reports as well. So, if you want to learn more and engage with WICRESOFT, a little bit about us. We are a multi-gold certified Microsoft partner that has a specific specialty in project and portfolio management. We were named Microsoft's most recent worldwide partner of the year in this PPM space. And we have a global footprint as well as strategic partnerships in selected areas internationally. We can provide you support to whatever degree you'd like us to. If you just want some help on implementation services with solutions, we can help you with that. But we also provide things like education and training for more successful adoption. We provide ongoing success and support, whether it be supporting you on these solutions or maybe even providing managed services to help you execute. We even have advisory services and staffing to help you augment your capabilities and help you advance the ball from a discipline perspective, from a transformation perspective, or even helping you mature in these processes as an organization. So we're here to help you to whatever degree you might want us to assist. If you'd like to get started and try some of the Oneplan things, we do have a free trial available on AppSource. If you go to the link out there and look for Oneplan and select the adaptive project and portfolio management capabilities, you can access that today. And we're happy to help you navigate a successful trial of that. We also offer strategy workshops that help organizations figure out how this might fit fit or how they can get this adopted within their organizations. We help you review your current use of solutions and tools, assess your current requirements and your desired future state, and help you determine how to implement or migrate into the new solution in a roadmap type of approach, and provide that implementation roadmap for best adoption success. And then that would include any cost that would be associated with total cost of ownership on that. So if we think about potential next steps, take us up on the strategy workshop, or potentially have us chaperone you on a trial to help you get the most value out of that. Or we gave a very generalized demonstration today. If you'd like a more personalized one-on-one demo for your organization that's more aligned with the specific requirements you have, we're happy to schedule that with you as well. So please engage with us if we can help you on any of those areas. We do these webinars all the time. Over the 4th of July holiday week, we're going to take a week off, but on July 9th, we are actually going to do a webinar that is called Bounce Back with Lean Portfolio Management, and really focus on some of the agile, lean, and scaled agile pieces that an adaptive portfolio management solution might address. So please, you can go to the URL here or just go to our website and look under webinars for us to get to register for that. So with that, I'd like to thank you on behalf of ourselves and Paul and I. If you'd like to go to our webinars, go to us.wicresoft.com/webinars, or if you want to contact us for engagement, do contact us at wicresoft.com. If for some reason you want to ask specific questions of Paul or I, our email addresses are there. You'll all be getting a copy of this slide deck, and also a link to the recording that you might want to share with us, or if you want to view this again. So thanks again for sharing some of your valuable time with us, and we hope to engage with you in the future. Have a great day.